The college football playoff has expanded to 12 teams. So is this the year that Clemson can finally get back to it and maybe contend for a national title? We know that the coaching is there. We know that the talent should be there. But the schedule, that could be the one thing that holds Clemson back in 2024. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today, breaking down Clemson, our 21st ranked team in our way too early top 25, breaking down their schedule for this upcoming season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. So much exclusive content over there for you guys, so you don't miss anything this college football season. Again, the season never dies here at the Gridiron Expert, and we want you to go check that out. We want you to subscribe. We want you to hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future videos here at our channel, and ultimately, guys, just become a member of our GE Nation. So Clemson, you know, this is a team that expects championships. They expect ACC titles. They expect national titles. They expect playoff appearances. The last few years, they have been unable to do that. 2 years ago, they did win the ACC, didn't make the playoff, lost to Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. Last year, had playoff aspirations once again. Those were over in September following a 2-2 start. They were 4-4 last year before winning 5 straight games, including that thrilling bowl victory over Kentucky. But a 9-4 season really isn't what Clemson fans want. That's great, right? 9-10 win seasons are good, but they want championships. They want to continue to add to that trophy case. They've got Cade Klubnik coming back at quarterback, Garrett Riley returning as his offensive coordinator, so hopefully another year together, you'll see drastic improvement on that side of the ball. We know the defense traditionally is very strong at Clemson, and we expect it to be once again in 2024. But just like last season, the month of September could ruin Clemson and could ruin any hopes that they have of contending for a title. Last year, they were 2-2 in the month of September. They lost to Duke in the season opener, then they lost to Florida State. You take a look at their schedule this year, and look who they open up with. First game of the year is Georgia and Atlanta. Practically a home game for the Bulldogs. That is a brutal, brutal way to start the year. It's going to be one of the most anticipated games of week one, no doubt about it. And you would think and hope that Clemson can hold their own against the Bulldogs, play this game tough. But Georgia is a different animal. Yes, they missed out on the college football playoff last year. We know that. And then decimated Florida State by, 60 points in the Orange Bowl. Granted, it was a skeleton crew for the Seminoles, but doesn't matter. Georgia going to be very, very tough again. Defense always strong. Carson Beck returning at quarterback. Practically a home game for this team. Even if you're Clemson, you look at this, and obviously you want to win this game. It would be massive for everything, for everyone involved, if you could pull off the upset against Georgia. But just playing them close, if you can hang with the Bulldogs and make this a one-possession game, even if you lose by one possession, while a loss isn't going to get you anywhere, and while I do not believe in moral victories, I think it would show that Clemson is capable of hanging with the best of the best, and that could do something maybe for more morale on the team, and also to the country to say, hey, yeah, they did lose to Georgia, but they can go on a run. They can hang with them if they were ever to meet again. The problem is this. Look at the rest of this schedule, especially in the first couple weeks of the year. You got Georgia. Then you come home to App State. App State, the giant killer. I'm not here to say Clemson's going to lose to App State, but I am here to say that if the Tigers are down on their luck, if the Tigers are hung over following either a beat down to Georgia or a heartbreaking loss to Georgia, App State is going to show them no mercy. We've seen App State time and time again either beat elite teams or scare the heck out of some elite teams. And if Clemson is not careful, the Mountaineers will do that to them. So App State, not going to be an easy game at all. That's not a game you can just immediately chalk up as a W. 0-2, I would say, is in the cards for Clemson. It is possible for Clemson, although I'm not going to predict that, at least not right now. Georgia, App State, not easy. You come out of your bye week, you host NC State, a dangerous NC State team that loaded up in the transfer portal, especially on offense, especially at quarterback with Grayson McCall, transferring in from Coastal Carolina. The Tigers are a different animal at home. As we know, Death Valley, a very difficult place to play. But they lost to the Wolfpack last year on the road, 24-17. They lost to NC State 2 years prior to that on the road in overtime. So playing at home is huge for Clemson in this game, no doubt about it. But NC State, they're not scared either. They're not going to come into Death Valley and just roll over. They believe this could be the year they challenge for an ACC title, and a win over Clemson in Death Valley would help them achieve those goals. So NC State, no slouch. Stanford, first year in the ACC, probably going to be a win for Clemson more than likely. And then at Florida State. Brutal, brutal, brutal. You lost 31-24 at home to the Seminoles in overtime last year. Now you've got to go to Tallahassee. Yes, the Seminoles lost practically everybody on both sides of the ball. It's not going to be a rebuild by any means, but this is nowhere near the Florida State team that we saw in the regular season last year, or even the Florida State team we were expecting to see in the preseason last year. But obviously playing on the road is very, very difficult. You look at the schedule for Clemson, guys, those first 5 games, Georgia, App State, NC State, Stanford, Florida State. There is not a single cupcake in that stretch. There is not a single game in that stretch where you can look at and go, that is definitely a win. You would assume App State would be, you would assume Stanford probably would be, but nothing's a given. There's not an FCS team there like the Citadel later on in November. There's not a very weak group of 5 team on there that you feel very confident in Clemson beating. Those first 5 games are brutal. Very, very brutal. And just like last year, if Clemson is not careful, their season could very well be over by the end of September or on October 5th, the first week of October. Clemson needs to go 4-1 at the worst in these first 5 games. That's what I think. 3-2, that's not going to excite the fan base. That's going to have the fan base kind of down on themselves, especially with some tough games coming up down the stretch. You got to play Louisville, got to go to Virginia Tech, South Carolina. Never know what to expect out of them. They beat Clemson 2 years ago in Death Valley. So if you're Clemson, 4-1 in your first 5 games. That's what you've got to do. If you lose to Georgia, okay. Win your next 4. If you beat Georgia, better start dreaming of 5-0 because you don't want to slip up to any of the teams ahead of them. Florida State would probably be the most likely, but you believe if you can beat Georgia, you can certainly beat a Florida State team with a lot of new pieces. 4-1 in the first 5. That is the key stretch for Clemson. It's not a key stretch in the middle of the year. It's not a key stretch at the end of the year. It is right there at the beginning. They've got to get off to a better start than they had in 2023. If they don't, the season will be over before it really gets going, just like we saw last year. Following that 5-game stretch, they go to Wake Forest, who they beat 17-12 last year. Wake Forest still dealing with some new pieces. Still going to take a little while for Wake Forest to get back to really contending in the conference. Virginia, one of the worst teams in the conference. They showed signs of life towards the end of last year, but Clemson lucky to get them in Death Valley. A bye week, second bye week of the year, right before Louisville. That's a big one. Louisville going to test Clemson's defense, no doubt about it. Jeff Brom reloaded in the transfer portal, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But Louisville struggled mightily away from home last year. At home, they played great football. Neutral sites and on the road, very, very different. And that's one thing Clemson's got going for them here is the fact they get to host this game. And Death Valley is one of the most difficult places to play in the entire country. The last thing I'll say about Clemson's schedule here, you had Pittsburgh on the road there, Citadel, South Carolina. South Carolina at home was going to be very, very big. They beat the Gamecocks 16-7 on the road last year. That was great revenge and redemption following their loss to them in 2022. They'd love to kind of redeem themselves in front of their home crowd now. That Virginia Tech game, though, that's what scares me. If you're Clemson, that's what scares me. Let's say worst case scenario, you're 3-2 after those first 5 games. You very well could win your next 3 and be 6-2. And let's keep in mind, the playoff has expanded to 12 teams. If they're 3-2, Clemson is, one of those losses will be to Georgia. They only have 1 conference loss. If Clemson wins the ACC, they're going to the 12-team playoff. So 2 losses does not derail your season. Even 2 losses with one being to Georgia does not derail it because only one of those losses will be in the conference play. That's really massive when it comes to the playoff picture and the conference standings. But Virginia Tech, that's a tough game. Brent Pry's building something there. We saw that at the end of 2023. Big time win over Tulane in their bowl game. They practically returned everybody offensively. The defense was getting better. This Hokies team is one that I think could be the dark horse in the ACC this year. And Blacksburg is up there as one of the most difficult places to play, not just in the ACC, but in the country, especially when Virginia Tech is firing on all cylinders. And I expect them to be doing that this year. So not many other games on the schedule that scare me outside of those first 5 games, except for the road game at Virginia Tech. You're coming off a physical game against Louisville, a potential high-scoring game against Louisville. Then you have to go on the road to a Hokies team that very well could find themselves in ACC title contention at that point in the season as well. Watch out if you're Clemson. That is the trap game. It's not Pittsburgh. It's not Louisville. It's not South Carolina. It's Virginia Tech on the road. That is the game that maybe could end your title hopes, could end your playoff hopes. If you're in the running at that point, we don't know. But Virginia Tech is where I could see Clemson slipping up on November 9th. Watch out for that. But otherwise, guys, again, the talent is there. We know the talent's there. Clemson has the talent. They've got the coaching. Dabo Swinney's one of the best coaches in the entire country. Everything is there, which is kind of why the last few years have been so confusing and mind-boggling, not just for Clemson fans, but for the entire country. But the fans are getting restless. They want to get back to the playoff. They want to get back to their winning ways, the elite winning ways. This is the year to do it. This is the year they need to do it. The schedule might not allow it, but if they can navigate those first 5 games, like we said, 4-1 or 5-0, watch out. I would be very confident in saying if they can do that, Clemson will be back. They will be back in the playoffs. And once they can make that, all bets are off. The Tigers will be in the hunt for a national title. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe. Check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. Tons of exclusive content over there to help you get through this off season. We do not let the season die here at our channel. All the more reason to subscribe, all the more reason to hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Schedule previews and predictions alike, all coming your way over the next few months. So go check it out, become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.